So I'm Bradley Kunda. I'm the product owner of MuseScore Studio. And I first heard about Cantai from a colleague, David, who used to run StaffPad. And he basically jumped on a call with me and showed me this incredible new tool. And yeah, I think both of our minds were sufficiently blown. We thought this is going to be a really exciting feature and something that we wanted to add or integrate in some way to MuseScore Studio.
A lot of users that I've encountered have said something along the lines of, this is what I've needed all along. Kind of like, I didn't know I needed this until I've seen it.
Yes, well, actually, I take myself back to when I was about 15 years old and doing arrangements for an a cappella group I was part of in high school. And a lot of this sort of a cappella jazz, small ensemble music involved us singing different things at different times. And I when I was making the arrangements, I never really knew how it was going to work. And I wished that there was some way that I could put it into some software and hear it and tweak it as I went along before bringing it into the rehearsal room. So yes, I've been waiting for this feature for probably decades.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of people that are in that same situation. Give me a brief overview of how Cantai integrates with MuseScore Studio and why it's better than just VST.
Yes, absolutely. The way that we're integrating Cantai is to sort of bring it into the same fold as our Muse Sounds technology, which means that it has a very direct relationship with the notation that the user creates in MuseScore Studio. So instead of loading in a traditional VST style plugin and having an interface that you then have to familiarize yourself with and understand how to use, you just write your notation how you want it. And we send to Cantai not only the notes and rests, but also the articulations, the dynamics, and the lyrics, most importantly. And basically, under the hood, Cantai is understanding all of the notation in MuseScore Studio and using that to then process the audio and generate the playback. So it's a much more integrated connection with Cantai and with the playback engine, and it allows you to just focus on writing the music, which is what we're all here in MuseScore Studio to do.
Right. So does that mean when somebody signs up for a subscription, there's basically no installation? It's a matter of just choosing the voices.
Exactly, yeah. You install it just like you install any other Muse Sounds library, and then when you open MuseScore Studio next, it'll appear in your mixer, and then you pick your voices and you're ready to go. How
important is it to you and to Muse Group in general to have the ethically sourced voices that drive the performances?
I think this is fundamental. A lot of us, if not most of us at Muse Group, are actually musicians as well as designers, tech people, developers. And none of us, I think, in this process have ever considered this as something that should ever replace real musicians. We're not conceiving this as a substitute for real singers in any way. Fundamentally, to actually train these data models and generate the playback sound that we hear, it's obviously critical that there are real people involved who are willing to lend their voices, who are properly remunerated for that. And then beyond that, it still doesn't take singers out of the musical journey, in my opinion. Really, I see this as a tool to help composers get much faster feedback on the way that the sound of the language is sitting in their scores. That's just one example for how I think people will use this. I also see it as a really valuable rehearsal aid. Like if you're singing in a choir or singing in an ensemble, and you want to practice your part against the other parts at home, outside of the rehearsal room, then you can now do that, and you can just you can bring in your score into MuseScore Studio, mute your track, sing along with the other voices. And work on your part and learn your notes that way. So yeah, there are definitely ways that this, I think, will be used that are going to be really helpful for people. But fundamentally, it's so that we can then take these scores made in MuseScore Studio and put them on a stand and work in the real world.
Right. So you think there'll be some spillover, some encouragement for composers and arrangers to write more vocal music because they'll have a easier way to get feedback as they're composing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, there's a famous saying, and the quote is, "We shape our tools, so our tools shape us." And yeah, I think that once people get their hands on this and start using it, they'll start to be inspired to write maybe music that they hadn't thought to write before. Because the reward that you get from hearing this instant feedback is quite startling and quite gratifying, and certainly I think it has the capability to inspire.
Are there any specific singers or ensembles that you would be interested in having hosted in this?
For me, actually, even more important than seeing like a famous singer or a famous group or someone I really admire as like a model for a voice, I think actually what I look forward to seeing is just a large variety of voice types and ensembles to pick from. And even, thinking more into the future about this, the ability to prompt the way a particular voice sounds and to suggest for it different characteristics that might help users, people working in musical studios, start to train their own taste for what they're listening for in a voice. Because it's very difficult to, like, when you're with a singer has particular characteristics in their voice, and they can perhaps switch on or off certain attributes, but fundamentally their voice sounds like their voice, especially if they're using it in as natural a way as possible. But so when you're with a singer, you only get that voice, whereas when you're in the program like this, you can start to experience what it's like to listen to different kinds of voices, each of which have different qualities, and I think the more composers and arrangers can explore the variety of voice types and characteristics within each voice type, the more they can train their ears and use that in their writing process. This is going to all happen in Muse Hub. So this is the application where people will go to actually get their hands on Cantai. And Muse Hub was always conceived as kind of a vehicle for independent audio developers and the developers of creator tools to have their works, their plugins, their applications surface to a really, really wide user base. I think that it's a really good fit to have Cantai as our first online sound processing library. It's a really uniquely positioned library because it is trained on classical voices, and it fits neatly within the remit of MuseScore Studio, which also has a special place in Muse Hub. It's free, it's open source, it's available to millions of people use it every month to create sheet music. So yeah, I think when people get their hands on Cantai in Muse Hub, they will, and they start using it in MuseScore Studio, it's just going to unlock a whole new realm of creative possibilities for them. And that's exactly what Muse Hub was designed to do. So this is a score that it's a piece of music I used to sing in school. Actually, I really, really love this work by John Livett. Set me as a seal for soprano, alto, tenor, bass, and that's convenient because that's what we have here in Cantai. So in my mixer here, I can go into here, and there's Cantai, and you can see we've got, at the moment, I've got a whole bunch of stuff here because we're testing different things, but we have the Lucia soprano, the Carmen mezzo soprano, Duke tenor, Rigoletto bass, and there's also a Sarastro bass. So these are all obviously well-known operatic characters. And I've just loaded them into my mixer, and I'll hit play, and you can hear how it sounds. So there you go. You can hear they're all singing these words. I can change the words to anything I want, but I'm now getting the shape of the language, the sound of the language in my mock-up. You'll notice that the soprano line isn't finished, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish that now. So if I put some notes in, and like that. And then when I do that, there's just a little processing indicator, which is letting me know that something is happening, that this particular playback is being processed online. And we also have a little indicator in the bottom of the screen here in the status bar to let you know that there are online sounds and that they're ready to go. If I add some more text, then it'll just process that text, and depending on how much activity is on the server, that usually takes only a few seconds, and then we can press play. And there it is.
So how much prep did you have to do for the whole score?
No more than I would usually do.
Phoneme editing, or were you doing any pronunciation editing, or how much?
No, absolutely nothing. I've done nothing. I've just written the score. But that's, as you can see, that's it. There's no other hidden secrets in here.
Well, that's kind of the idea behind Cantai is to be able to load a score, choose a voice, and have it sing. That's it. There's not much to it.
Exactly. And I mean, that's the whole philosophy behind Muse Sounds as well. We just want people to write their scores and then have the playback engine kind of take care of like 80 or 90% of all the nuance.